Well, hi there, food friends. It's Kevin.
Hey there, I'm Ralph. I'm behind the camera.
And welcome to Cavalcade of Food. And today, Ralph, we are making a bread pudding.
Yum.
Right? I know somebody really, well, we all like bread pudding. Ralph really does. And in this case, I've decided we're going to make a Panettone bread pudding. And you may ask, well, what's a Panettone?
What's a Panettone?
You know what it is. Some people may not. It is a very traditional Italian Christmas bread. And these are often given as gifts. And believe it or not, I have had this since like the holidays, okay? And it's just now coming up to its like best by date.
Wow.
And so let me take it out, but let me show you what this is.
Ooh.
Isn't that beautiful?
Now, is it almost like a fruit cake, or?
It is, except it's a bread, okay? But it's got raisins and orange peel in it, and sometimes they have little pieces of nuts in it. Sometimes they're completely plain. It just depends. But what I love about a Panettone, I mean, I love these. We did not get to eating this at all during the holiday, and it was in the pantry. And you know, when you make bread pudding really is a dessert that came out of ways to use stale bread.
Mm-hmm.
So you never want to use fresh bread with bread pudding. You know why, Ralph?
Too soft?
Exactly. You want it dry because you want it to absorb the wonderful custard mixture that you add to it.
So it's almost like French toast.
Yes.
Where you leave the bread out, or it's best when you use stale bread, or what's the other thing, like bread?
Day-old bread.
Like stuffing and things like that.
Yes.
Something that absorbs liquids, a bread like that.
Exactly. And because this bread has been, like I said, I got this at the holidays, and this bread is now at its kind of end date that you're supposed to have it by. You know, it's not quite stale, but it's not fresh either, okay? Mm-hmm. So I think this is perfect for making bread pudding as it is. Now, if this was during the holidays and I just got this and this was a nice fresh Panettone, then you know what I would do? I would cut it up, and I would put it on a baking sheet, and I would put it in a 300-degree oven for like 10 minutes and let it dry out, okay? I'm not going to do that here, but I am going to peel back. It's got kind of a wax parchment liner here. They bake it in this, okay? And so you want to take that off. There we go. Now this is a 1 pound, 10-ounce Panettone. That's the weight of it. Oh, and I love the smell. You know, it does almost kind of have a fruit-cakey smell. Let me cut it in half so that we can show our food friends the inside of this thing. Mm. You see that? Raisins, orange peel. Oh. Can you get that, Ralph?
I got to zoom back in.
Okay.
Or out.
That's
okay. Yeah, it looks good. It looks very porous, and yeah, it almost looks chocolatey, but I know it's not.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cube this up because that's what you want with bread pudding.
Yeah, whether you're using a round Panettone bread or any kind of...
you could use any kind of bread for this.
Thicker the better.
Yeah. Some people like to use a brioche, which is a very eggy kind of a bread.
Or a Texas toast.
But
what he's doing is cubing it, whatever it is. But this is Panettone.
So people use a farm bread. The other thing about bread pudding, and why I like to use a Panettone, is I like raisins in my bread pudding. And if you're using, say, a brioche or something like that, you've got to add the raisins in. Here, you've already got your raisins. You've already got your, in this case, orange peel.
Yeah, it's already in there.
It's
no
all
muss, no
in
fuss.
There. So you know what? You don't have to worry about that.
It's like a step saver.
Exactly. So you can see I'm just making cubes out of this. And I'm going to do that. So let me finish cutting this up, and then we'll come back, Ralph, and we'll get to making the custard.
I like custard. That's like egg and milk, right?
Egg and milk, you got it.
All right, we'll be right back.
I just put 2 cups of milk into this saucepan.
2 cups of milk, okay.
Whole 2 cups of whole milk into this saucepan.
By the way, what type of knife did you use to cut the bread up?
This is a bread knife.
Like a serrated?
It's a serrated. Bread knives always have a serrated edge, and that's what I use. So here's our cut up panettone. Okay.
Back to the milk.
Back to the milk. So I got 2 cups of milk here, and I'm going to add a 1/2 cup of sugar to that milk. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of unsalted butter. Okay?
3 tablespoons, that's about, what, a third?
What do you mean?
Of a stick?
No, not quite a third of a stick. It's 3 tablespoons.
Okay. Because it looked like 3 cubes.
Well, you know what? It's a quarter of a stick. How's that? Well, no, wait, hold on. There's 8 tablespoons in a stick. Now I have to do math. All right, Ralph? So 4 tablespoons would be 1/2 a stick. 3 tablespoons, I don't know. More than a third, less than a half. How's that? All right.
That math ain't math.
Yeah. So then I'm going to put in a 1/2 teaspoon of salt.
Salt, okay.
Okay. And then I'm going to put in a good teaspoon of cinnamon. Okay? And then just a little, this is a nutmeg, and I got a little grater here. We're going to put, a little goes a long way. We're going to put in just a few little scrapings of fresh nutmeg.
Because nutmeg really does go well with custard, you know, the egg and the milk for some reason. Like even if you're making like a quiche or French toast.
So, Ralph, what I'm doing here is I'm going to mix all this together. And we want this just to be what we call scalded. Okay? So we don't want to boil the milk, but what we want to do is we want the milk to start to form little bubbles around the edge of the pan, okay? And when it does that, it's at the scalding stage. And this also will help us in terms of dissolving that sugar that we put in, okay?
Okay.
So
I wanted to mention that there's a traditional Mexican bread pudding called I can't say it, copirotada, that we make in my family, and my mom used to make it, and my brother makes it.
Your brother makes it at Christmas time.
Yeah,
it's
so
delicious.
it's a Christmas bread pudding, and it has like full sticks of cinnamon in it, but it also has peanuts and raisins, and it's a really fun holiday sweet
It's
treat.
actually kind of complex.
Yeah, it does have a lot of different things going on in it.
So I'm going to, as soon as you see the little bubbles forming around the edge of the pan.
That's when you know it's scalded?
Yeah, and you know what? That's when we take it off the heat. Okay?
I can see the steam rising off of it.
Yes, we want this to cool. It doesn't have to get cold, but we want it to cool because we're going to add eggs to it, which of course
would cook if it was too hot.
But as you mentioned earlier, Ralph, custard is milk and eggs together.
Okay.
So we're going to get our pan ready. Now you could do this in a baking dish, like a 9 by 9,
like a casserole dish. Maybe?
Yeah, like a glass casserole baking dish, a 9 by 9. I have this. This is a actual ceramic kind of piece of bakeware. And I love this. This was made in Italy.
Oh, perfect.
And the Panettone was made in Italy.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to keep everything sort of in the Italian theme. But what we're going to do is, while that's cooling off...
Just don't put any anchovies in it.
No. I got a piece of wax paper here, Ralph, and on that wax paper I'm going to put about a tablespoon of butter. And then I'm going to do this.
Oh, I like that.
Okay? Because even though you're going to have the custard in here, and you're really not going to have a problem, we should not have a problem with the bread pudding sticking, but just in case, and come on, like another tablespoon of butter is going to do any harm right here
Nope, we
with
like
bread
butter.
pudding. So go ahead and whatever utensil you end up using, go ahead and butter it generously. And I only use this wax paper so that my hands don't get super buttery greasy. But
do you butter the sides as well, or just
yes,
the bottom?
No, the sides, the whole thing. Okay? All right. So we're just going to have that kind of at the ready. I'll put that over to the side. All right, we're going to get that cooled down, and I'm going to get the other ingredients so that we can put our custard together. Okay, Ralph, this is cooled off a little bit. You want this can be warm. You don't want this to be hot, okay? And what I'm going to actually do is I'm going to temper the eggs, but I'll do that in a second. Let me bring this in. Temper.
Okay,
let's
so
put in our
bread
into our beautiful
into the buttered pan, bakeware.
I actually could have baked it right in this Pyrex thing, but anyways, we're going to use this, okay?
You could have baked it in this bowl?
You don't want to jam it in there, okay? I'm just kind of arranging it so that it all fits together nicely. It'll bake together, but don't compact it, okay? We want a bread pudding that, I got butter. Look at this. We're going to wipe it off like that. We want a bread pudding that is light and not dense, okay? And if you smash this together, it's going to get too dense.
Got it.
All right, so I'm going to bring this back. Can you see what I'm doing here, Ralph? Can you see? You got a shot of this?
I do.
So I'm going to temper the eggs. So I'm going to do that by doing this. In other words, we're going to bring, I'm worried because this is still on the warm side, I do not want these eggs to scramble and cook when they hit this. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring the temperature of the eggs up
by putting
gradually,
some of that liquid in.
by putting a little at a time in here, and it will gradually take that egg temperature up so that we won't have it shocked so much really when it goes into this pan. This is called tempering. Okay?
Okay.
So I'll do one more. Okay? So now
you feel it's safe to put that in there.
I feel better now. We can pour
a little bit at a time.
Eggs a little at a time. We've warmed them up back into our milk mixture, and it's brown from the cinnamon, by the way.
And the vanilla?
No, I haven't put the vanilla in yet. That's going to go in next.
Oh.
Okay. There we go. All right. So now we've got our eggs and our milk together, and I'm going to put in 2 teaspoons vanilla. Okay. So now that we've got that, Ralph, here's what we're going to do. By the way, I've got the oven preheated to 350 degrees.
Okay.
We are going to pour.
All around.
You want to really try to distribute this as best you can so that the bread all gets a nice
soak,
bathing, as it were, of the custard. Okay. Now most of it's at the bottom, but it will, like a sponge, that bread will pull it up as it bakes. All right?
All right.
So this is going to go in the oven 40 to 45 minutes at 350 degrees. I'm going to get cleaned up, and then we're going to come back. And you know what's nice on a bread pudding?
Ice cream?
Yes.
Whipped cream?
Yes.
More butter?
Well, we're going to make a sauce to go on top of our bread pudding.
Yep.
And this is optional, but we're making a bourbon sauce. How does that sound?
Sounds delicious.
Okay. Okay, Ralph. So I am just melting here 2 tablespoons of butter, okay, in the saucepan. And I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of flour. So you've seen this before, done this many times. We're making a roux, R-O-U-X.
So once again, it's unsalted butter?
Unsalted butter, equal amounts of butter and flour, in this case 2 tablespoons of each. And we just want to cook it for a minute and let it just kind of get that flour taste. Yeah, and the raw flour taste to cook off. And it's going to start to smell sort of nutty. Can you? Are you able to smell it? How's your sniffer?
Yeah, I think I am getting it.
Yeah. So
it's a very low heat, though, right?
It's on medium heat right now.
Because I see it bubbling.
Yes. Well, there's not much in the pan. That's why. So.
But you want to be careful not to burn it.
Yes, you got to really watch it here, and you don't want that roux to get too dark. So I'm kind of happy here where it is.
Oh, I'm starting to smell it. Very nutty, buttery.
So I'm going to add 2 cups of milk that I have heated up in the microwave. It's not hot, but it's warm plus, okay? Almost scalded. You don't want to put cold milk into this roux. Do you know what I mean? It's going to bring the temperature down.
Backwards.
Exactly. And this is going to start to thicken. We're basically making a white sauce, right? Is what this is. But now I'm going to take the heat up just a smidge here, and this is going to start to thicken as it gets hot, which shouldn't take long.
So right now it's just the butter, the flour,
and the milk. And so what you basically have is just a white sauce, which, again, is like, well, okay, big deal. But we've got a couple other things to add. A couple
of secret weapons over there I can see.
Yes. So I want to get this up here to a little bit of thickening, and then I've got a 1/2 cup of brown sugar, Ralph, okay, which we're going to add in. That's going to sweeten it. Then we're going to put in 3 tablespoons of bourbon, and then we will have our bourbon sauce to go over our bread pudding. What do you think of that?
That sounds really good. Well, it took a while, but you got it thickening up, right?
I sure did. I'm actually taking it off the heat a little bit, but it is now bubbled up, and we're going to turn the heat down to low. And now we're going to add in our brown sugar.
Does it feel like you're playing in a sandbox with a little bucket of sand?
So, but the brown sugar will dissolve. And of course, the brown sugar not only, of course, sweetens the sauce, but it also gives, a little bit of that caramelization, right? Exactly. And you can see the beautiful color here, Ralph. Okay, so now to that we've got to add our bourbon. So we're going to put in, again, 3.
One for you, one for the sauce.
1, 2, 3. Now, if you didn't want this boozy,
Although it does burn off, doesn't it?
it does, but if you just didn't want the flavor, you might not. Then you know what? Put in put in vanilla. Okay, just do everything the same, but just omit the whiskey, the bourbon, and just put in a vanilla extract and make it kind of a vanilla sauce. Okay, that looks good, and smells good too. Okay.
So as this cools, it's going to thicken even more and become more creamy.
And you don't want it too thick because you want the sauce to be able to absorb into the bread.
Right.
But we're going to leave this right here. Okay, so now our beautiful bourbon sauce is made, and we can just wait for that bread pudding. You make this while the bread pudding's in the oven, and we'll come on back when that's
Kevin,
done.
You said that you could not put the whiskey in if you didn't want the taste of it, but what if you wanted more whiskey?
Well, I mean, you could do that, but
you're just saying. Some people might want
more. I mean, it's going to have it's going to have the bourbon flavor, and you can only put in so much bourbon flavor.
Says who?
I mean, other than that, then just pour bourbon over the bread pudding and forget about all the other stuff. Okay. So, all right, we'll be back. Okay, Ralph, I had it in the oven for 45 minutes and took it out, and there are parts of the bread pudding that are on the top that just got a beautiful, slightly golden brown crust. Mm-hmm. Just beautiful.
But the liquid is still down at the bottom.
It's softer at the bottom, but here. Isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
And it smells so good. And then, of course, we have our bourbon sauce. Check this out.
Can we eat that just by itself?
We could. This would be nice on, you name it. Ice cream, whatever. So, I think, as most people do, including Mr. Ralph, that bread pudding is best served warm.
The proof is in the bread pudding.
That's right. And so it's still warm, and we're going to serve it up. I like to use a bowl for this. This is Tulip Time by Johnson Brothers, an old China pattern made in England. So here, Ralph, look at that. Look at that. Beautiful.
That's like the ultimate comfort dessert.
Isn't it? So, just those bottom pieces just soaked up that wonderful custard. Now,
look at that.
We're going to just put a little of this bourbon sauce on it.
That looks wonderful. And, I was wondering, too, I don't want to gild the lily, but I wonder if you could add fresh fruit to it, like maybe blueberries or
you could, certainly. You could also serve this with a scoop of good vanilla ice cream on the side.
Let it get all melty. But I could see it like with, slice some bananas on top of it, and maybe
This is paradise.
All right, do that thing again with your head. I didn't have the camera on it, but his head was vibrating from I thought it was maybe the bourbon.
Well, it's sensory overload. The bourbon sauce, you get the bourbon, but it's not overwhelmingly bourbon.
It's kind of blended in with the brown sugar and the butter.
You definitely say, there's whiskey in there.
Oh, you do?
Oh, yeah. In the sauce. But this panettone with
the little flecks of fruit and stuff?
Yes, and the bread pudding. I mean, the raisins, the orange peel. Oh, my gosh. Oh, my goodness.
Are you just going to sit there and eat that whole thing, or am I going to get some?
You're going to get some.
Okay, good.
So, let's, I never want our
food
friends to just take my word for anything.
And they always want Ralph to get fed, don't
Yes,
they?
yes.
Aw.
And they say the same thing when Mary Ann's working the camera. Is Mary Ann going to get some? It's like, yeah.
See, they're looking out for us.
And I know you're going to want this.
Extra, please.
There it is. Again, we had a Panettone, so that's what was used. But again, you could use any kind of sort of dry bread that you had on hand and make the custard. Wow. What say you?
I think this delicious bread pudding, and bread pudding in general, goes probably way, way back, but can you imagine the minds it must have blown the first time somebody said, look, let's not let this bread go to waste.
Right.
Let's put it in with some butter and some juices and sauces and bake it and make it yummy.
Yes.
The first time that was ever made was probably
some cultures have been
revelation.
making different types of puddings for centuries.
Like I said, the
certainly.
Mexican capirotada and
Certainly the English are no stranger to different puddings.
oh yeah, they love
right?
their figgy pudding.
But this is really good. And if you happen to get a Panettone or pick one up during the holidays, not a bad idea to just hold on to it and make bread pudding with it.
Yeah, because specifically the Panettone, as Kevin was saying, has those little bites of citrus and other fruits. Is it raisins or
raisins, currants?
Currants,
yes.
but there's like a, it's different from other bread puddings because you're getting this real interesting citrus sharpness mixed with that soft creaminess. So
and
it's good.
You could even add things to this. You could toast up some walnuts or pecans and chop them up and throw those in here in the mix.
Let us know how you do your bread pudding.
Let us know. If you've got a bread pudding recipe that you really like, share it. We'd love to hear about it. Ralph, let's give them that old website.
Cavalcadeoffood.com.
That's it, folks, cavalcadeoffood.com. Recipe is in the description below. Please subscribe if you like what we do here. That really helps the channel. Also, hitting the like button also helps us out a great deal. So if you like this recipe, please do so. We're just always glad that you choose to spend some time with us here in the Cavalcade Kitchen.
We sure are.
And we appreciate you watching. Thank you, Ralph, for working the camera.
My pleasure.
And we thank our food friends again for watching. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you again real soon, right back here on Cavalcade of Food. Bye, everybody.
See you next time.